there's a specific kind of tired that has nothing to do with sleep. You can take a full week off, come back, and still feel the same low hum the second you open your laptop. That's not burnout in the dramatic sense. That's something quieter. Cognitive rust, building up in the background of your routine. Today we're reading the cards on 3 things you've probably turned over at 2 in the morning, without ever saying out loud. First, should you actually stay in this loop? Or is the calculated leap you keep talking yourself out of the smarter move? Second, why does some part of you feel completely replaceable? And what's the one operational skill you have that's sitting on the table right now, unused and unpriced? Third, and this is the part most readings skip. If the cards do point toward change, what does the next 90 days actually need to look like? Not vague hope, an actual sequence. We're not doing affirmations today. We're doing a diagnostic and then a plan. Pull a card if you want to play along, or just listen. Either way, by the end of this, you'll know exactly which conversation you've been avoiding and what the first real step looks like. Let's name the 2 energies in the room. The first is the loop. It looks like stability. It feels safe. It even comes with what looks like real value attached. A steady paycheck, a known routine, a manager who mostly leaves you alone. People call arrangements like this the golden handcuffs for a reason. The cuffs are real, so is the gold. But notice, handcuffs, even gold ones, are still designed to stop movement. The 7 of Cups shows up here more than any other card, and almost everyone misreads it. They think it's a card about having options. It's actually a card about avoidance, dressed up as choice. You're not seriously evaluating 6 different doors. You're staring at 6 different fantasies precisely so you never have to commit to walking through any single one of them. That's the real mechanism of the loop. Not boredom, but a quiet system that makes indecision feel like patience. And here's the trap inside the trap. The loop doesn't just keep you still. It runs in the background like an algorithm of your routine. The same 6 emails, the same recycled meeting, the same 40-minute commute, optimizing for nothing except its own continuation. You're not failing to grow. The system you're inside was never designed to ask whether you're growing. It was designed to keep running. There's usually a tell before any of this becomes conscious. You start mentally redecorating an apartment in a different city. You read 1 job posting just out of curiosity, and then 4 more the same night. That's not random. That's the part of you that's already done the math and is waiting for the rest of you to catch up. Now, here's where most people get it wrong. The hanged man can look identical to the loop from the outside. Same lack of visible movement, same person sitting still. But the energy underneath is the opposite. The hanged man isn't avoiding a decision. He's released his grip on the timeline of the decision. If you're in genuinely necessary stillness, finishing a contract, building actual financial runway, waiting on one specific external event, that's hanged man energy, and it is not the problem. The loop becomes a problem the moment stillness calcifies into a structural habit. The moment the pause stops recovering you and starts quietly draining you instead. The way a background app keeps eating battery long after you've forgotten it's even open. The second energy is the leap. People assume the leap has to look dramatic. The speech, the resignation letter slid across the desk, the clean break. It almost never does. The magician is the real signature of the leap, and the magician is not reckless. He's resourceful. He works with exactly what's already on the table. The 3 contacts who'd actually take your call. The skill you've quietly built over 4 years. the one free hour you do have after 9 p.m. A real leap doesn't require a blank slate. It requires an honest inventory. The friction people are actually afraid of isn't the leap itself. It's the moon phase right before it. That fog where you genuinely can't tell whether your hesitation is wisdom or fear wearing wisdom's coat. The moon doesn't deceive you on purpose, but it distorts scale. The way headlights make a small animal look enormous on a dark road. Risks that are objectively survivable start to look catastrophic in that particular light. This is precisely where most people quietly retreat back into the loop. Not because the data changed, but because the lighting did. If the moon is the fog, the King of Swords is the instrument built to cut through it. Not optimism, not a pep talk. Cold, accurate assessment. What do you actually know versus what are you simply assuming? What's a real constraint? Money, dependence, a binding notice period, versus a manufactured one, like, it's too late for me, or people like me don't do that. King of Swords energy is one sentence. Get the facts, strip the emotional static, then decide. And death, when it shows up around a career question, is almost never about the job itself. It's about the identity quietly constructed around the job. The version of you that answers, "So, what do you do?" a certain way at dinner parties. The title that started doing some of your personality's work for you. Death asks you to let that version end on your own terms, deliberately, before circumstance ends it for you on its terms. Given how fast this market is moving right now, that second option is increasingly the only other one available. When the leap is made from inventory rather than panic, the destination card is the world. Not perfection, completion. A chapter that closes clean on its own terms, instead of one that gets dragged, half-finished, into the next decade because nobody ever formally closed it. If that landed somewhere uncomfortable, good. Stay with me, because the next part is the one most people never let themselves think all the way through. Let's talk about the quiet feeling that you're one bad quarter away from being swapped out without much ceremony. That feeling isn't really a verdict on your competence. It's structural. Most modern workplaces are built like an algorithm, optimized for interchangeable inputs, not for the specific, occasionally messy way your brain actually solves problems. The system doesn't profit from you feeling secure in your value. It profits from you feeling slightly disposable. Because slightly disposable people don't negotiate, don't push back, and don't leave. Some of that imposter syndrome is personal history. A good portion of it is just good incentive design on someone else's part, not yours. The moon shows up again here, and this time it's not about external uncertainty. It's about the fog you've put over your own self-assessment. The moon, in this position, is the part of you that scans your own track record and somehow only registers the misses. It's not lying about the facts. It's mismanaging which facts get lit up. This is exactly where justice earns its keep. Justice is the ledger card, cause and effect, contribution and reward, weighed on an actual scale rather than a felt one. If you genuinely audited what you produce against what you're compensated and credited for, would the books balance? For most people sitting in this exact limbo, they don't. Not because you're underqualified, because the accounting was never done properly in the first place. Here's where Jung is useful, not decorative. You've built a persona for this job, composed, competent, reliably on top of it. That persona is real, but it's not the complete inventory. The skill you're underpricing typically lives in the shadow side of that persona, the part you do so automatically that you stopped logging it as a skill at all. For most people in this career limbo, the hidden asset is the same one again and again: the ability to take real chaos, half-formed instructions, 3 stakeholders wanting 3 different outcomes, a deadline that moved twice this week, and quietly turn it into one clear plan other people can actually execute. There's rarely a clean diet title for this, but it's one of the rarer operational skills in a workplace right now, especially as straightforward thinking gets outsourced to software that's fast but carries no judgment. The 3 of Pentacles is the card for this exact talent. It's not a card about working alone in a corner, hoping to be noticed eventually. It's a card about visible, collaborative craft, skill that becomes undeniable specifically because other people can see it functioning in your time, in the room. Solving something they actions today, 1. If their version of this skill has been operating quietly, off to the side, uncurted, that's not a flaw in the skill. That's a flaw in its current visibility. Underneath all of it sits temperance, the patient, ongoing alchemy of blending the technical half of what you do with the human half, the part of you that can take content dense and making your land for a completely different cruciate secret back for just connecting. That's strategic translation, and it's a paid specialty everywhere else except inside the building where they currently do it for free. You've been quietly building speaking spending today, fluent in 6th blue pelagram, while tendencies your own social sense as hosting. There's a final month here, and it sits concept to peace of coaching, triumph. The conscious celebrating that happens once you such accounting your opening content and putting comfort instead. Start doing getting your youth your best. The charis you exper last body, the corporation you did, write it down below some looking teaching it for you. Most petching you're working, with exactly words, kidding cooking with coaching, speaking, doing something Geno 3. Okay, you've seen the 2 paths and you've seen what you're actually sitting on. Now, the part almost no reading gives you, an actual sequence. No miracles, no quitting on a Tuesday because a card told you to. A plan. Days 1 through 30, the audit. This is 4 of Swords territory. A deliberate, strategic pause, not a collapse. Not telling anyone yet. Not posting anything. This month is private. You're doing 3 concrete things. Building actual financial runway. Even a small specific number is better than a vague intention. Writing down in plain language the chaos to plan skill from the last section, with real examples and real outcomes attached. And quietly mapping who, outside your current building, would actually take your call this week. That's it. Rest the part of you that's been running on adrenaline, and start the paperwork on the part of you that's about to move. Days 31 through 60. Identifying the false walls. This is 8 of Swords energy, and it's one of the most misread cards in the entire deck. People picture it as literal imprisonment. Look at the image properly. The blindfold is loose. The ropes are loose. And the swords aren't actually touching her. The cage is mostly self-applied. This month, you test that directly. Send the message you've been drafting for 3 weeks. Take the 1 coffee meeting. Apply to the 1 role you've talked yourself out of twice already. Each small action either confirms a real wall, and now you know exactly where it is, or it proves the wall was imagined, which is the far more common outcome. Either way, you stop guessing. Somewhere in this window, justice reappears, and this time it's a decision point, not a feeling. By day 45 or so, you should have enough real information, not vibes, actual responses, actual numbers, to make a genuinely informed call about whether this is a full pivot, a negotiated change inside your current role, or a longer runway than you initially planned. Justice doesn't rush you. It just insists the decision be made on evidence, not on whichever day you happened to feel most anxious. Days 61 through 90. The crossing. 6 of Swords governs this stretch. Not a dramatic departure, a steady, quiet movement from one shore to a calmer one. Most successful pivots look boring from the outside during this exact window. A few applications, a soft launch, a notice period handled cleanly, a conversation with a manager that goes better than expected because you came prepared instead of emotional. The moon is still present here, because visibility is never perfect even this late in the process. You won't have full certainty before you move, and that's not a sign you're unready. That's simply what the edge of any real change feels like before the data has time to catch up to the decision. What's waiting on the other side of a properly executed 90 days is 6 of Wands. Not applause for its own sake, but the specific, grounded recognition that comes from having actually done the work in private before anyone saw the result. That's a different feeling entirely from the version of recognition you get from simply being visible. One is earned, the other is just noticed. So here's the closing thought, and I want you to actually sit with this one. Nothing in this reading asked you to blow up your life by Thursday. It asked you to stop renting out your identity to a routine that was never built with your future in mind, and to start, quietly, on your own terms, building something with your name on the blueprint instead of someone else's. 90 days from today, you will either still be standing exactly where you are right now, or you'll be 90 days into becoming the version of yourself this reading already saw coming. The cards don't choose which one. You do. Starting with whatever you actually do in the next 24 hours.